105 days. So we've had a great day today. So much support. It's hard to explain to you the support that we're getting. This case is getting out there. It's spreading. People are aware of what's going on, even here in South Carolina. So we just want to thank everybody for spreading the word um, because all of that help, all of that support that we're getting, that saves us so much time and moves things faster, forward, faster, is really, really helpful. It's so helpful, and we have no time to waste, do we? In our country, we have no time to waste because we are absolutely being attacked internally with very treasonous, mutinous individuals that don't have the United States in their heart. They don't have our military in their heart. They don't have our volunteer sons and daughters in their heart that comprise our military. And of course, it being the anniversary of the Marines, I want to say happy anniversary, happy birthday. Um, uh, because if we have no military, if we have no borders, if we have no hard money, this is another thing that we're fighting. And that's why I have behind me Theodora and Justinian, Theodora. I need to elevate them a little bit more behind me. It's very, very, very important to understand the significance of Justinian and Theodora on our country, because you know it's the longest Byzantium. He's the Emperor of Byzantium, the longest lasting empire that we know of to date. And how did it survive? How did it succeed for so long? And what can we do to emulate that to even be even more successful than Byzantium? And all the different things that empire brought to the Western world. Um, so and what were their main what was his main objective? Of course, the Justinian Codex, right, which was really focused on family law. That was Theodora, really focused on family law. She had gone through hell, hell in her life. And so it was all about family law for her and inheritance laws. But of course, it was about the border, it was about the military, it was about hard money, it was about the farmers. And you support the food, clean, sparkling water, because that's also represents energy. Because water is, I don't even think we understand water the way we should. And it has everything to do with Richard's case because it has everything to do with El Paso. I call them the water Nazis, those that control the water, those that control energy. And energy is being stolen right now. We know that. The articles are out there. That's been confirmed, that energy is being stolen. Um, and of course, this has to do with water. And then, it has to do with our military, right? Our military, so much was being stolen from our military. And of course, all the trafficking going through Fort Bliss. And then, of course, um, uh, farming, healthcare. It's very interesting because they just built a new William Beaumont Hospital. It had a lot of problems because there's a lot of tunnels underneath it. There was a lot of sinking and everything like that. I know from my father because my father was ADA. I was born at White Sands Missile Range, and we know that there were tunnels everywhere, everywhere, because El Paso has an ancient history. It has an ancient history. Um, Let's make sure that I'm on. It doesn't seem to want to connect for me. Okay. Let me know if I'll go down here. It doesn't seem like I'm on. Oh, there it is. Okay. Thank you so much. I finally found it. Thank you, Laura, for coming on. You helped me here. We can hear you clear. Thank you so much. So, yeah, that all matters because we know that there's a lot of trafficking through the tunnels, and all of this makes El Paso the epicenter for the criminal trafficking, for the front door of the United States, and that makes Texas very, very important. El Paso, Texas, absolutely very, very important. So important. And I'm not the only one saying this. Our family's not the only one saying this. Many are saying this. As Texas goes, so goes the United States. So goes the United States. So goes the world. And so El Paso is just that important. And so we cannot, slow down one bit to identify the criminals, to identify the problems, to document them, file them, and then absolutely put together a campaign that will drive the um, accountability. The accountability for Richard's case. Richard's case is so big. It really touches in everything here, including what I want to talk about, and that is the county administrative judge, um, uh, uh, Ricardo Samaniego, and then I hope I'm saying his name right, and Michael Maiella, the Maiella family with the Crusius family, It's very, very important because it as all of this information comes together, um, and what I just posted today about his Ricardo Samaniego's girlfriend, who seems to be pretty young, or maybe not. I don't understand that whole situation, and that's why. There's a problem because we should be able to understand it. It should be transparent. And and I think that Erica Perellis, his chief of staff, could absolutely tell us what happened. Um, eh, because this article claims that she's a mother. She she doesn't look like the mother. I don't think she's able to be. She's just far too young. She's just far too young, and something is going on in this case where he had some kind of confrontation, and I've been told a little bit about this, but I'm just going to call it a confrontation with his girlfriend, and it was so severe she wound up going to the hospital, saying that her rights were being violated as a favor to Samaniego, um, and um, and he even missed the meeting with the commissioner's court that really shouldn't take place at the county courthouse, but that's where it takes place. I think it really confuses people. And I think rightfully it confuses people when you're being called a judge, but you're just administrative. You're not a judicial officer. And then it gives Samaniego the power to, because he knows people are a little bit confused, to take advantage of them, and the most vulnerable of our community, those that might not know the system, that are confused. by this, and maybe foreigners that come in that don't know the history, that come in legally and are being fooled by him. I think it's so, you have uh, legal uh, new individuals to the country, then you have those that are less fortunate, those that are the most vulnerable, and you have these terms and titles that are confusing, and you have an individual that is willing to take advantage of it and impersonate a judicial officer. And that's exactly what the evidence is showing. And though that's what the allegations, why he's being investigated for that, because the evidence is showing that he took advantage of the confusion, of the deception, and he engaged in it. He engaged in the deception and was pretending to be a judicial officer, or acting as, or leveraging himself as a judicial officer wrongly, which I think is a federal offense. And so this is very, very serious. It's not something to take lightly. And, nowhere says that you have to be so smart. There's smug people, there's very self satisfied, smug people out there that say, well, if people don't get it, uh, then they're ignorant or whatever. I mean, they're just putting, these Democrats and even some rhino Republicans, they can be so inhumane and uncaring, and don't even see the point of servants. Servants in the government. These are supposed to be servants working for the people, and by the people and of the people, right? They're supposed to be looking out for those that are don't know the system, right? Looking out for those that um, are less fortunate and are hardworking and don't have time to figure out how our government works, or was unfortunate to have these big, time for education, and also those that are needy, right? Are vulnerable, very vulnerable. Maybe autistic, like Patrick Crusius, autistic, that are being taken advantage of, being groomed to do things that are terrible. He did admit to shooting one or two people. Um, and, the point is that 46 were shot, 23 fatalities in that. Um, so so where's the other shooters? Where are the other shooters? And I think Michael Maiella and Lorraine Maiella and Michael Maiella Jr. and um, um, oh, what's the daughter's name? There's a couple daughters in there. The one that married the Patrick Crucius, that'll come to me. Um, they are witnesses. They are witnesses. They are part of the Walmart mass shooting case. So, do you understand the level of obstruction that these people asked for, that these people received? And if it wasn't for us investigating and investigating, we were investigating something totally different when we discovered this Maiella Crucius connection. That is, it's jaw dropping. And it is obstruction, and also it's proof that the Walmart mass shooting was orchestrated, that they didn't want to get to the bottom of it. And there's so much other hard evidence that absolutely confirms it was orchestrated. And there's so much um, hard evidence that there are other shooters, and they're at large right now. We have people that criminals that would shoot up people in a Walmart or elsewhere and bring them in because, according to the video, we can't forget that it does not jive with the narrative at all. It seems that they brought in some victims, right, and staged the scene. And it would that be possible? It would be because we know through the FBI, Michael Cordero, that it took over 48 hours to secure the crime scene. And we know that others, like Jaime Esparza, was walking the crime scene before it was secured. And he had a conflict of interest. His sister was there at the Walmart. He should have recused himself from the state case. He should have recused himself from the federal case, but he didn't, even though he was screened from the case because of the conflict of interest finally caught up to him and he was screened from the case. But why did they even make him the AG? Because he could still, uh, you know, really cover the evidence and he could do a lot of damage as the U.S. attorney there for the Western District of Texas. It didn't make sense at all. And except for the fact that this was orchestrated and was there a motive to orchestrate? Absolutely, there was a motive to orchestrate. And you see what they're doing right now with this No King's Day and other things like January 6th and stuff like that. They absolutely were attacking President Trump. Why? Because of his audits, because of, um, the uh, securing the border, the uh, not just letting the border be open and let everyone come in, but vetting those that come through and come and go at the border. And this includes the fast lanes. Okay. This includes vehicle trafficking on the fast lanes. That has absolutely, we've discovered that, you know, uh, by favors, some people get favors and they're allowed to use these fast lanes that, only certain people are supposed to use, and but they're using it and they can traffic much more efficiently using those lanes. And, so this is, very broad, yet it's with a small group of people. And even though you have about 800,000 people in El Paso, the power structure is a small group of people, just a few hundred people. And so they know each other very, very well. Okay. They're always sorry. I got a little itch on my nose, hair. Um, uh, Absolutely know each other very well. And so did um Samaniego, Ricardo Samaniego and Michael Maiella know each other? Absolutely. They have to uh, collaborate and cooperate on many different things in their positions. And there's only a small group of people in this power structure. And so, being the manager of the federal courthouse and the federal cases, and and the administrative judge over the commissioner's court for the county of El Paso, absolutely, even, they absolutely know each other. And so this whole Maiella Crucius connection is, very clear that they knew. And of course, we know that El Paso Matters knew. And we knew that others knew because it's through those others that we don't want to reveal their names because, it's a dangerous place, right? Um, but it's through these others that we found out that El Paso Matters knew, and that El Paso Matters was asked to keep it a secret, and they did, and they knew, right? And they were asked to obstruct the case, to totally obstruct the case, and to promote a false narrative, because Patrick Crusius, being with the family of the Maiellas, absolutely debunks the whole white supremacist notion, narrative. It absolutely debunks that this was a lone wolf, that he just randomly chose El Paso. All of that is debunked, and they knew it. They all knew it. This little power structure in El Paso knew it. And this confirms that this was a political hit, that this was a bloody political hit, that this was orchestrated, that this was a conspiracy, that this was absolutely a collusion. And if it wasn't, why is it now, when we have delivered the uh, the marriage certificate, the hard evidence that they're married and that they were living in El Paso. Brian Blake Crucius being an accountant. Um, they all knew, and to obstruct the case, to put forth this false narrative. Who did that false narrative hurt? Who did that false narrative hurt? Well, it hurt President Trump and his reelection campaign. That's who it hurt, and that being they disenfranchised the voters there in El Paso. They absolutely disenfranchised the American voters in the United States, because this was national news. So uh, this was a huge crime, y'all, a huge crime. And to see the video of the inside of the Walmart, to know that Patrick Crucius surrendered twice to a Hispanic cop, and the first time he was like, "Oh, go away, it's not time yet," right? It's not time yet, and to hear Joe Spencer, Patrick Crucius, defense attorney, to have that audio recording, saying it is hard evidence. So and we've put that up there. So we have the audio recordings. We also saw that, or experienced, Bob Moore, who's absolutely of the devil. He's of the up to no good. Um, Retaliating, right? Retaliating, coming out angry and full of himself when my own eyes, uh, brought up the red flags that Patrick Crucius was autistic. And I told everyone, I said, look, I'm a school teacher. You look at children, you look at people and their personalities, and if they have learning disabilities, you catch on very, very quick, because that's what I was trained to do, so that I could meet the needs of those that I was teaching. And Patrick Crucius, just watching him in court, just, that's why they kept him locked up, wouldn't bring him out for so long, because just watching him, any trained teacher would absolutely say, wait a minute, this individual seems to be on the spectrum. We need to get him tested. This is an autistic individual. And so I said that early on, when they didn't want that narrative out, and Bob Moore came on, and he was like, it's the only time he came on to the live stream. and and was bashing me for that. And I'm like, "Ugh, whatever, Bob Moore, you're such a liar and you're so biased, biased, biased. So who cares what you say, right? Who cares what you say except for you take advantage of the taxes, taxpayer money, and 501c3 and all of that. And you try to hoodwink the people continuously, day in and day out, to meet the needs of Woody Hunt, your employer, right? Woody Hunt, the billionaire Mormon faction, up to no good, up to no good. And you can tell that they're up to no good because of what has happened in El Paso. And these people coming on defending Samaniego, it's like, really? Really? Oh, he's done so much. No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't one bit. He closed down, he ruined so many small businesses when we were even there in 2020, and they were like insane, and other places weren't insane, but El Paso was insane, and all the while behind El Paso's back, but he got caught. Then his family's allowed to have big parties with the money people, right? Because they knew that this was just a lie. This was they had to restrain, and this also was a little bit confusing with Richard when we would talk to Richard, and he was telling us it was so bad, and with all the COVID stuff going on, and that absolute insanity. You didn't know if it was about the COVID or if it was other things. And um, it was just such an awful time. It really was. And so, Samaniego is really just slime. He is just slime, and he's an impersonator. And it seems like he doesn't treat his girlfriends really well, right? If they end up in the hospital, and are crying to the police that their rights are being violated at the request of Samaniego, like he has some kind of power over them. Rules for us and rules for him and whatever. They're different, and that's absolutely wrong. And I thought that we're supposed to be pro woman. The only pro woman is Jesus Christ, right? The Bible is the only pro woman. And and that's why you have Theodora that's behind me. I was painting that picture when all this happened, and so it's not totally complete, but it's Theodora that absolutely converted to Christianity because she knew that it was that God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost, the Nicene Creed, the Apostles' Creed, uh, Athanasius Creed, that is what was pro woman, pro child, pro family, pro man, right? That was going to pro those that are less fortunate, pro those that are vulnerable, right? And absolutely are negative towards criminals. That is absolutely devastating to criminals. And so that's why Christianity is really the most attacked religion in the world, because it is so anti for criminal rights, right? It really is. Now, if they get the death penalty, God requires that the body of the criminal is respected and is not left there to hang overnight, that it is absolutely necessary to bury the criminal. So, in that respect, God is always looking after everybody. And Even though he's very, very, he hates, Jesus said he hates these criminals like this, right? Um, he remember how he took out the whip, and everyone's like, you can't use that word hate. You can't use that word hate. Uh, Um, but Jesus did use that word. I didn't use that word. Jesus used that word, and Jesus is God. And so, those that traffic children and do the most terrible things, he doesn't. No, he doesn't like that too much. He doesn't like that too much at all, and that's why. Um, Christianity is attacked so much. And of course, Richard, being a Christian, made him a target. I can tell you that right now. It made him a target um, because he absolutely lived his faith. And he's a hero, absolutely a hero, trying to protect the children. And Allison said that to me too. She was like, "Mom, if they were up to no good, maybe taking drugs in the barracks, Richard wouldn't say anything. If they were, even um, messing around with each other in the barracks, he wouldn't say anything. But if they were messing with the children, he would absolutely fight for the children. And so it is. So that's why Leilani Hart is a prime suspect for many different reasons, hard evidence, but she's a convicted criminal and she is, confessed to facilitating uh, um, and failing to report for decades the worst type of crimes against children, for facilitating and failing to report for decades the worst type of crimes against children, and that she has um, immigration fraud. She has immigration fraud problems. Now that's not me saying it. That's her confessing it in her notarized affidavit that everyone needs to read, because she was putting it out there. She was so proud of her confession, and it was floating around out there. And of course, her cousin, Tavita Nusa, coached her in all of that. And, he was a CID agent, but he had his badge terminated in 2021. And so, does Ricardo Samaniego know who Leilani Hart is? Absolutely, he knows who Leilani Hart is. Okay, he knows. Everyone knew in that circle who Leilani Hart is. Um, there is no doubt at all, because of dealing with the CID, because of dealing with the FBI, because of dealing with Connell Witten, who was protecting and who was leaking information out to this criminal group. So that makes Ricardo Samaniego, dirtier than what people even say he is. I mean, there's not too many people, unless you're a recipient of his paychecks, which is like Mario Raskin Ortiz. Mario Raskin Ortiz, the chief medical examiner, I would put a bet that he would probably say, "Oh, Ricardo Samaniego, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's done so much for El Paso. Now give me my, $500,000 check." And the same thing with Veronica Escobar, right? And the same thing for the impersonators on the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. Those impersonators, they probably say, "Oh, we really like Ricardo Samaniego. Now give us our paycheck." So that's obvious, right? That's obvious. They want their paycheck, right? And they're not going to, they're going to tickle ears, even if it's lies, because they don't have, maybe there's one in there that loves the country and would take their lumps, right? And say the truth, and I always have hope for that. Maybe there's one that absolutely through their foggy glass they see God, and they might not see him clearly, but they see enough of him to say, "Wait a minute, um, maybe I need to fear God more than losing my paycheck." Um, maybe there is whistleblowers out there that absolutely have that kind of love for God, right? Love for the United States, love for the children, love for our military, love for what is right and what is good and what is noble, what is true, what is praiseworthy, what is honorable. Maybe they love that, more than serving the devil, right? So and that's um, uh, I think it's why President Trump won. Why President Trump won, because all odds were against him, but there were enough that saw God through the foggy mirror, the foggy window, right? And with every step of our faith, it gets clearer and clearer and clearer, and we can see the path that we need to take and why. And why, at first, we don't understand things. And so, those that are bold and braggy and so brazen to say, "Oh, well, if you don't know the difference between a county judge and a what, whatever, you're so bold, you're so brazen, you just think you're so smart, but you have no love for humanity, no love for the those that are vulnerable, those that are coming into the country that might not know the system, you know, and those that are busy working, busy working, and know how to absolutely cook the most fantastic meal, know how to do the most beautiful wood carvings or whatever, know how to uh, uh, cut hair beautifully and everything like that. And they're busy doing that, and they're not paying attention to Samaniego, right? That's uh, we're not supposed to know everything. We're not supposed to know everything. We're supposed to be good at what the talent that God has given us. And then we pay our taxes for the servants to look after these things. And when they betray us, like those that have betrayed us in El Paso, like you know those that have betrayed us in Congress, those that have betrayed us in Austin, right? In Austin, um, for the buck, for the Benjamin, whatever. It is. Uh, it would not be good for us to just let them get away with it. We need to document it. We need to file it. And we need to file it again and again and absolutely demand accountability. And through the codex, right? Through the law, through what Theodora and Justinian said were so important, the rule of law, our military, our borders, our farmers, our health, um, water, and our money, hard money. Because as they get away with things, they destroy the value of money, and you see that happening. Um, you see that's why we have inflation. It's not that the prices are going up, it's because the value of the money we get go down. That's true inflation. It's like a tax. It's an absolute tax from digitizing and everything. So, but not everyone is an economist and a financial whiz, and so we depend on those. people that are in that business to look after our welfare. We pay their paychecks, and then they betray us, and then we get this big mess. So that's what is being exposed right now, is all the betrayal, and we need to, and we have been, and this is the help today that we got. Oh my gosh, because we have been really documenting um, the crimes, and filing the crimes, and now we have so much institutional support and other support, private business support, that because they see what President Trump is doing. He's such a great leader in this front for people that want the right thing to happen. And the right thing to happen is clearly seen in the Samaniego, Maiella, Crusius debacle. That accountability needs to happen, because they absolutely knew that the Maiellas requested from the entire judicial system there obstruction of justice, because they were major witnesses, a major part to the Walmart mass shooting case. And they were just given a pass. They were just given a pass. And no, they could have absolutely testified about the mental health of Patrick Crusius, to his um, white supremacy false narrative, to the false narrative that he just randomly picked El Paso, and so many other things. His ability, because his fine motor skills were very bad. We have found that out. He couldn't tie a shoe even at 18. They could have testified to that. His blindness, we found that out too. That he's blind. He's just near blind. Without his glasses, he just can't see anything. And he admits to that. That's his confession. And so they could have absolutely said, wait a minute, there are active shooters still out there, um, or that there are multiple shooters still out there at large, and we need to find out who they are. And they could have also said, look, this was connected to the military, is connected to Richard's unit. Um, eh, and that's why Richard was also reporting on the Walmart mass shooting case, because it was connected. We've confirmed that to Richard's unit. Okay. Those that orchestrated the Walmart mass shooting, those have been connected to Richard's unit. That's very, very important. And so this whole Michael Maiella Jr. in the DA's office and the FBI office and Walmart cybersecurity is no mistake. And it was not unknown to Samaniego. Sorry, it was not known to him. If it was unknown to him, then he really should be not voted back in, right? Then he is totally out of touch with these couple hundred people that are very, very important to the whole judicial and legal system and the whole county of El Paso. So, absolutely very, very important for people to understand the level of his crime. Ricardo Samaniego, it doesn't stop at him just impersonating a judicial officer. The level of his crime is huge, and the character is displayed in this Martin Paredes's article about his girlfriend having to go to the hospital and him missing the commissioner's meeting, and this her being severely hurt. And he also knows about Julio Cordero. He knows who Julio Cordero is, because he's the most distinguished FBI special agent that in El Paso's history. And his poison pawns followed lots of arrests through that courthouse, okay, through the courthouse. So of course Samaniego knows who Julio Cordero is. And so and we now are telling him, look, it's Anthony Ray Acuna that shot and took his life. And something very wrong has happened because it was so severe that his face was so damaged that they had to have closed casket. So the narrative that's in the newspaper is not right. It's another Walmart mass shooting false narrative, right? It's like that. It's very like that. And it's, of course, it's like Richard's case where in the news they're reporting a false narrative. Bob Moore is. And so, uh, it's the body cam footage needs to come out, right? And we need to get to the bottom of all of this. And those that orchestrate these terrible crimes or cover them up, they absolutely need to be held accountable for that. So let's read. Thank you, Laura, for coming on. Thank you. They probably say that because Samaniego did a favor for them. Uh, well, yeah, that's what she kept saying. His girlfriend kept saying that, as a favor to him, they were taking her rights away. So, yes, thank you. Richard is our hero. Yes, exactly. Children can't fend for themselves. Absolutely. And, people that are working very hard, to keep up with all of this stuff, it's like I can't even imagine. Um, it takes your life away. It takes every bit of time away. Um, and who wants that? This government is supposed to be serving the people, but they are taking the life away from people. And so this government shutdown. I mean, I know I want our military to be paid. I want our border to be protected. I want our money. Uh, the damage done to our money is just incredible. You can tell all the theft because they keep debasing. It's like chipping away the gold, right? They keep debasing our money, and so that's why we have inflation. Otherwise, we wouldn't have inflation. Inflation started like in 1971. If you go to the inflation charts, you'll see it, and that's because they took the dollar off of the gold standard. Nixon took the dollar off of the gold standard, and that's what created this mess with uh, the inflation. So, yeah, we need hard money. We need to trust our money for trade and with one another, and we need a military. But all this bloat in our government. I hope that President Trump's administration will trim it big time. Will trim it big time, and then people will go to work for businesses and everything, and they'll like it more because they'll trend or they'll go to the things that they love, that they want to do, and we'll have, it'll just be better, so and that is just shown in history. I know that from Russia. When Russia fell, my parents were working in the American embassy over there during that time. And, it was just the government was so bloated and it fell apart. And then the people were free. There was not too much panic, believe it or not, but they were free to go and work and do other things. And of course, they had to get through the whole oligarchy thing that they're still going through. They're still trying to recover from, decades and decades of the communism that you couldn't even get a can of paint. So this whole thing with Mondami and everything up in New York, it's like, really, everybody, you don't want to be able to even get a can of paint because that's what this government control that he speaks of, like it's just he's so fond of it. But that's what happens. You can't even get a can of paint when you need it. And you know, and I know that for a fact because my parents were in that whole transition there in Moscow, not because they wanted to be, because they were working in the embassy. And my mom worked in the adoptions, and the children that were allowed to be adopted out of the country of Russia, after the USSR fell, was cleft palate babies. Okay, cleft palate because they didn't have the medical care to fix a cleft palate. And so they allowed the cleft palate babies to be adopted out, and then, of course, they would come to the United States, and immediately they would have the surgery to fix their cleft palate. So, and I only know that because of my mom and working in the adoption agency there at the American Embassy in Moscow, Russia. And my dad starting the Star hardware store, the very first hardware store in a 6 million people populated city of Moscow called Star Hardware. You can look that up. My dad, helped open that up. Um, is just, and that's why because people were so desperate to get just some kind of hardware, like a can of paint. Um, so we have to really fight for our country. We're so spoiled here. We've got everything, and we need to keep it. We need to be able to keep it. And that means maintenance. And for our son's case, having the in the line of duty, having the letters from President Trump that absolutely confirm everything that we've been saying about our son. And now we are in the negotiation part for the repatriation of our son's remains, or partial remains of our son. That's where we're at right now. Was it a murder? Yes. That's been confirmed. Um, and who are the prime suspects? Well, Dallas Hart and Lalani Hart and Tavita Nusa. And was it covered up like the Maiellas? Yes, it was covered up. Was there a false narrative put out there, like in the Walmart mass shooting with Patrick Crusius? Yes, there was a false narrative over and over again about Richard, put out there to the public. And this leads to the connection with Raphael Arliano Caron, the owner of the Plenitude Crematorium. Not because I said he's the owner, because he said he's the owner, right? He says, and hard evidence proves he's the owner. And before I put out that information, right? Before I live streamed about that information, I had put it out there, but before I live streamed, people were coming out and saying he's not the owner. They're trying to, be, I don't know, protect him. Why would you want to protect the flesh peddler, right? Why would you want to protect someone that is so inhumane? Um, he needs to absolutely pay for what he did and what he did to families, and including our own family. So, it's just, uh, I guess they're getting a paycheck from him, right? Which, sorry, I hope he goes out of business. And I'm not even sorry about it. I'm just sorry for the people that have to face that realization that this is a major, major crime, and he needs to be held accountable for it. May God bless those agencies helping out. Yes, that was amazing today, and I wish I could tell you more, but I can't give the enemy any information. But we really got some amazing help today. It's just, yeah, hopefully I can share that one day. Many people from Juarez can verify he was the owner. Yes, absolutely he was. So the evidence is very hard, but it's just these uh, these agents of the devil that are part of this criminal trafficking, part of this Mormon faction cartel tied up to no good group that want to deceive. Their name should be deception because not Mr. or Mrs., just deception, because they change their names and they're always manipulating. And yeah, so and they're changing their names all the time, so it's like just call them deception, deception 1, deception 2, deception 3, just write down the row for those that have been lying, like Danae Katzen, like Lalani Hart, like Dallas Hart. Dallas Hart just is always deceiving. And of course, Samaniego, and they're just that's their name. So once you know their names, once you know their playbook, then they look very little. It's like they have some kind of glass in front of them that makes them look big. And then when you take the glass away and see their deception, they are just really little people, just really little demons. And um, yeah, you've uncovered it, and then we need to hold them accountable. That's it. Your fear goes away, your fear goes away, and you can hold them accountable. And with all of I'm telling you, we have a lot of institutional support, and that should make people very, very happy, very, very happy. So, because all the bullying and the fear and the intimidation and all the name calling, they have this hateful language, very hateful language, and so that is all. y- Tit for tat right now. I saw that President Trump blew up a submarine that was, also trafficking substances that would kill a lot of people. So this is an ongoing battle, uh, but we're winning. When you have God on your side, you're coming from a place of victory. We already won. It's already been won, and we just have to do our duty. That's what's going on. And so this negotiating for Richard's remains is vicious. It's very vicious. It's brutal, and it's happening. Um, and we're just not going to give up until we have what belongs um, to our son and to us. So thank you so much. Yeah, they're crooks. They're about to crumble. Yeah, and even, our military that was shaking, 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 they look so much better, the Marines look so much better. They were all shaking. Even the ones that might be compromised, they're relieved. They're so relieved. This is a new day for them. They can become new creations, right? They can be a new creature because, in the military, you're really stifled. You can be groomed so easy because it's not a democracy. And that should give everyone a lesson. When Mandami up in New York wants, to be the king, really, um, it's like, wait a minute, then everybody's stifled. Everybody doesn't have a choice. And the military, rightfully, it's not a democracy. And that's why we need to have extra protections. And that extra protections is to have freedom in the civilian world, because the civilian world does the oversight for the military. And when you have Veronica Escobar that has betrayed us, and the Senate Arms Committee that has betrayed us, and Ted Cruz that has betrayed us. That you have to ask, okay, where are they getting their paychecks, right? So, and we know that Veronica Escobar is getting her, is really working for Woody Hunt and not for the her constituents there in El Paso. So, well, Woody Hunt is her constituent. So that's the only constituent she's working for. So, okay. So thank you so much, everyone. Um, I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Thank you so much and God bless you. Bye bye.